And welcome back to another episode of Nicole Vignola Show. Today we're going to be talking about my top 5 productivity hacks to try and boost productivity, focus and attention. If you're new here, please like, comment and subscribe. You'll be helping the channel grow. If you have any questions, drop them in the comment box. I'm answering questions twice a month. So, one of the biggest questions I always get is how to improve productivity. Now, there's a lot of avenues that we can go down, so I'm going to try and keep it quite succinct. I'm going to give you my top 5 productivity hacks. Now, the first 2 are overarching habits that will help you overall be more productive, help you increase dopamine, and help you achieve all the things that you want in life as a general whole. The last 3 tips, so tips 3, 4, and 5, are going to be tips that you can actually use in the moment to help you increase your flow. Let's get into it. Tip number 1 is you have to learn to limit your phone use. If we're looking at a kind of currency, a dopamine currency, as to how much available dopamine you have in a day, if you are consistently giving it away to social media, checking emails, etc., you are diminishing your productivity as a whole. Think of it as a currency or a cup, and you are spending your money. It's fine to spend it on social media, but I want you to be conscious as to whether you're overspending in some particular areas of your life and thus don't have enough money left for productivity and the tasks that you would like to be working on past your 9 to 5. My cat decided to join us. Now the thing is, the artificial light that is coming from your phone late at night is impacting your brain's ability to produce dopamine. So if you wake up and you feel demotivated from the minute you wake up, there may be a plethora of reasons as to why that's happening. 1, late night phone use. 2, low dopamine. And 3, you may not be getting good quality sleep that is helping you feel replenished. So, limiting phone use at least an hour or 2 before sleep is going to have a huge impact on how you sleep, and not just the length of sleep, but the quality of sleep. You want to be able to get into a state of deep sleep stages within the first 45 to 90 minutes. If you have been scrolling on your phone, your brain is going to take a little bit longer to reach these deep sleep stages. That's because your phone use is keeping you awake. And so how can you expect your brain to be able to switch off and get into those deep sleep stages if you have been scrolling? Now, the second thing is phones first thing when you wake up. Now, I'm not saying that you can't use your phone for your alarm or a meditation app or to listen to music or to call your mum or whatever it is that you do in the morning, bar from social media. Now, when you start scrolling on social media, or you start checking your emails, or you start replying to text messages, you are putting yourself in a state of motivation drive, and so you are essentially using that dopamine currency from very early on. This is in a lot of layman's terms, so please bear with me. If you can delay phone use for the first hour of the day, you are setting yourself up for success, versus if you start scrolling on social media the minute you wake up. So if you've heard me talk before, you'll know that I'm constantly banging on about that, but it is undoubtedly the most underrated tool in helping you have better mental health, better mental clarity, and increase your productivity. Now, tip number 2, this is where my personal research comes in. I was looking at the effects of taking strategic breaks in the workplace, because many a times people will grab their phones thinking they're taking a mental break from the task at hand. Now, it appears as though that isn't the case. So when we look at attentional networks and decision-making tasks, we see that individuals that have just finished scrolling on their phones have an impaired ability to hold executive function, attention, and to make better decisions, versus the group that took strategic breaks. The strategic breaks that I use in my research were mindfulness meditation, but I don't want you to get too caught up on what it is that you're supposed to be doing in the strategic break, because you're then spending cognitive energy on worrying about that. So a strategic break can look like a walk, closing your eyes and just switching off from any of the external stimuli from your environment. When do you ever go inwards and think about how you're doing, and you're not constantly consuming some kind of information from your environment, predominantly your phone. A walk, maybe you do meditate. If you meditate, great. Maybe it's some breath work. Maybe you'd like to begin meditating or quote unquote clearing your mind, but you're not entirely sure what to do. And one of the best ways to be able to do this is to focus on your breath. So inhales through the nose, long exhales through the mouth. The way that I do it is I picture the flow of the breath like a wave flowing from the crown of my head down to my toes, and I actually picture it flowing through my body and oxygenating all of the cells in my body. That helps to clear my mind. Now, shock. There is no such thing as being able to completely clear your mind. We can clear our mind of the task that we're supposed to be doing, like, oh, that email I was supposed to reply to, or that task that I didn't get done, or that chore that's on my to-do list. Those are the things you want to clear from your mind. And one way that you can do it is by focusing your breath and your attention. So meditation is actually more like focused attention. Now, breath work is a really powerful way to be able to do the strategic break as well. Now, the strategic break can happen at any time. I personally do 5 minutes before I'm going into a meeting. I do 20 minutes every single day at around 1 or 2 o'clock when I'm starting to get that dip. I really hone in on the break. I really hone in on the dip, because as humans, we do have these ultradian rhythms, and we are going to feel a dip in the afternoon. It's completely normal. So ride the wave, go with the low, because you will come back up, especially if you do it properly. So a proper strategic break at around 2, 3 o'clock, whatever time you think is your lowest point of the day, lean into it. So those are your 2 top tips on the overarching ability to increase productivity and mental well-being. Now let's get into what you can do in the actual moment when you're about to sit down to focus on the task at hand. Now, tip number 1 is increasing the neuroplasticity of your attentional network. Mouthful, I know. One way that you can do that is by setting a timer. If you put on a timer, a classic method is the Pomodoro method. So you do 25 minutes on, 5 minutes off for 4 rounds, and then you take a bigger break for around 20 minutes to an hour. Now, I found that the Pomodoro method really, really works when you want to get some things done really quickly, like you've got emails to reply to or those little annoying tasks that you've been putting off. That's perfect. When you are working on longer tasks, it has been shown that it takes about 23 minutes to get into a state of flow. And so having your alarm go off for 25 minutes is not really conducive to you getting the deep work done that you're supposed to be doing. But we need to work ourselves up to being able to hold our attention for 45 minutes, maximum an hour. Now, there is a lot of speculation in the neuroscience community that alludes and flirts with the idea that we have a maximum amount of 90 minutes for which we can hold our attention. It's hard to study, but theoretically it makes sense. And so putting on a timer 30 minutes, 35 minutes, and working until the clock goes off, that is going to be the best way to increase the neuroplasticity of your attentional networks. You absolutely can. The frontal cortex, which holds executive function, is one of the most plastic parts of the brain, meaning that it is highly capable of change. So if you feel like you're somebody that can't hold concentration, it is a skill. You are able to do it. You just need to work your way up. Now, we have these things called self-interruptions. It has been estimated that around 52% of our interruptions come from self-generated ideas. So we tend to blame our external circumstances, like it's too loud or my colleague starts talking. But actually, whilst that is true, we also seem to self-interrupt quite prolifically. So what that looks like is, I'm just going to quickly check my phone before I continue, or I'm just going to quickly make a cup of coffee and then I'll work. Redirecting your focus to the task at hand, so you could maybe wait a couple of minutes. So when you get that urge to want to do something, you say, okay, I'm going to wait 5 minutes and then I'll tend to it. Because what you're doing there is you're severing that automatic reaction of cue, response, reward. Because we operate on this, we operate on these kind of habit loops. And so if you're giving in to the trigger or the cue every single time, you're going to get really good at operating with automaticity. So what that means is without thought. So when that thought pops up in your head or it arises and it says, let me go make that coffee, let me go chat to colleague X, it is going to mean that you are going to get up and you're going to act within that thought without even realizing it. So tip number 2 is to work on refocusing your attention. It kind of falls under tip number 1. They kind of go hand in hand, but doesn't everything in life. Now, tip number 3, which kind of concludes everything I wanted to say. If you're working on something and your phone is within your reach, your brain is going to want to reach for it. It's called an attentional capture. Your brain will always revert or divert its attention to the most exciting thing in the environment. And if your phone is there, it's going to be working really hard at reshifting your focus back to the task at hand because it is still there. And subliminally, there's this cue that says, pick me up, check for the notification. Come on, guys, I'm so much fun. I just personified a phone. Making the things that are easy, such as your phone, more difficult means that you can make the more difficult things easier. I'm going to say that again. Making the easier things more difficult means that the more difficult things become easier. Put the phone in another room. Do you know how much effort it takes for you to think, oh, I really want to check my phone, but I have to walk down the stairs and go and grab it, versus, oh, I really want to check my phone, but it's literally right here, I'm just going to quickly do it. The urge to not grab your phone is going to dissipate. The willpower you have is going to fade away with every single time that you hold back and resist. Make it difficult for yourself so that you don't impair your ability to focus on the task at hand. I actually got really excited while I was recording this. I'm going to give you one more bonus tip. The last tip is we're always talking about stress regulation and how we can regulate our stress response from something that we have just experienced, something stressful. And we do that by doing the physiological sigh or exhaling for longer on the out breath. But, my friends, we can hack our nervous system so that we can actually put ourselves in a state of motivation drive. Just like you can regulate your stress and go back into a state of calm, you can go from a state of calm into a state of activation, wanting to go. You can do that by doing something called a fire breath or a tumo breath, where you essentially exacerbate the inhales. Or you could put on some vibey music. I don't personally listen to Dua Lipa on a daily basis. I can definitely appreciate her. She is a goddess. So put on some Dua Lipa. Maybe it's Miley Cyrus. Maybe it's, I don't know, Skrillex. I don't listen to Skrillex, but maybe that is what you like to listen to. And I'm not judging you for it, even though my face is showing a whole plethora of judgment. I don't like Skrillex. I'm kind of judging you. You can pump yourself up to want to move, to want to work. And so put on the tunes, put on some disco or whatever it is you like, and get yourself out of the mood that you're in, which might be lazy. Lazy is a state, it's not a personality type. We can all spring ourselves out of it. That is the definition of a malleable central nervous system, to be able to move into a state of calm, but also be able to move into a state of excitement. You can do it. Now, I know that the word productivity sometimes comes with a negative connotation of like productivity bros. I'm not going to mention any names. I'm starting a petition. We can definitely be more productive without this negative connotation that we have to just like suck ourselves dry of any energy and like push until we pass out. No, that is not what I mean when I say let's be more productive. For me, being productive, when I wrote the book, I was writing for 4 to 6 hours a day, and then I was going to the beach at 3-4 o'clock in the afternoon, and that was it. That was me done for the day, because I worked efficiently whilst writing. So more is not more is less. Guys, if you enjoyed today's episode, please like, comment, and subscribe. Make sure that you leave some comments in the chat box so that I know how you're feeling, how you found it, and if you have any questions, I'll be answering them in the next Q&A. It's me, Nick, your pocket neuroscientist.